All right, guys, DC came, DC saw, and they showed off one little tiny trailer footage too. I haven't addressed this since the suit reveal, but yeah, we're entering a whole new era of DC, and with James Gunn at the helm of the whole DC universe, it's kind of depressing to say that, okay, the DCEU is done. We ended everything off on a bad note, and hopefully, when everything resets itself and we're actually going to get a new Superman, a new Batman, and a new whole universe, we can actually be more consistent with instead of just saying, okay, let's make a character and milk it for a movie or so. Yep, directly at Comic Con, they actually revealed a teaser for Creature Commandos coming out this December. And if I'm being honest with you, I'm like, okay, I didn't expect something from Creatures Commandos either this year or next year because they were saying whether or not, okay, so it's coming at the end of 2024, is it coming at the beginning of 2025 before Superman? How is this whole DC thing going to work? Because you got to remember that James Gunn did advise that everything between the animation and live action is all going to cross over into one. And not gonna lie, some characters in the Creature Commandos team are actually in Superman, which some set photos did kind of reveal Rick Flag Sr., and he is still played by Frank Grillo in this series too. But before we get into the trailer, let me talk about the logo that they introduced, because right before this whole thing, they introduced the whole DC intro, and not gonna lie, I actually kind of like it for how simplistic it was. It's not big or grand like the first DCEU intro that showed off the characters like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, all the members of the Justice League actually forming into a whole series of characters in a whole world of DC. But not gonna lie, I'm like, yeah, they had so much potential, and part of that still sucks. But now onto bigger and better things, because I feel like this is going to be the show that actually sets the tone for the universe going forward. Because I know there are still crossover characters like John Cena's Peacemaker, Amanda Waller, and Blue Beetle are still retracting themselves from the DCEU and actually incorporating themselves into this. I don't know if they're going to be exactly the same as they were, because it seems like we're actually going to be sticking with the same actors, but also playing different versions of the characters, but they also resemble the same ones as you saw them before. But let's take a look at how this whole DCU James Gunn verse is going to mix.
General Flag. This is Belle Reeve. For over 50 years,
Amanda
only
Waller,
those at
actually
the
Viola
uppermost
Davis in
levels
this.
are aware
Okay.
of its existence.
I thought Congress put a stop to all Task Force X activities.
Congress said you can't use human prisoners.
Oh,
These assholes aren't human.
Are you smiling?
Yes.
Sarcastically?
Alan Tudyk in another DC thing.
He's missing!
This is your new task force.
It's been oh so long since G.I. Robot has sent Nazis back to hell.
Let's call it Task Force M. M for Monster. Also known as...
Oh, Steve Agee's back. Okay, that's nice. For what it's worth, what I can say about DC and their animations is that, yes, they have a hit once in a while, but then again, whenever they do something like I don't know, a thing called the Tomorrowverse, that can work in the beginning, but then again, they didn't know how to lead that universe down the line besides two films in mind. But with Creature Commandos being the actual start of the DCU, or in this case, James Gunn's DC universe, it feels like, yeah, this could have been a live action movie for the most part, because I can actually see James Gunn's influence from live action actually being brought to animation. And for the most part, this actually could have been done in live action, but I don't know why they wanted to start out with animation first. But if you're going to get your tone aside and actually set things right and extraordinary, you might as well just do it here first. The character designs actually look good, and for the most part, they're not stylized and unique. They look standard, and I could just say they resemble a bit more DC's earlier animation styles, where it's not the basic, oh, you're going to get a cel shaded or you're going to get a certain comic looking view. they almost resemble the actors in a way. I know some of the majority are actual monsters and characters and creatures, but for the most part, Amanda Waller looks like a Violet Davis a bit with a bit minor details because it doesn't look like they're gonna go with the overstuffed Amanda Waller comic accurate, but they're actually gonna go with Violet Davis's influence. And for the most part, at least this is better than what Marvel did with What If, actually trying to translate character actors into actual 3D models, and some of them would resemble the characters, but then once in a while, looking at them side by side, it's like, yeah, this doesn't look like you're trying to resemble 3D, but actually put it on animation. We'll see how this does because I feel like a majority of fans like us actually know what this is. Because if I show this to my dad and say, okay, this is the start of a whole new DC universe, he'll say, the what now? And I don't blame him because I had to explain to him how these certain universes ended off. Like Aquaman and the Last Kingdom was the last movie of that saga. And if we're actually going to a whole new thing with Superman. But with this, I want to say I'll give it a shot. It looks like we're going to actually get a bit more of what we saw the first time with Guardians. Because, yeah, we're getting a whole ragtag group of villains actually put side by side with new personalities in mind and actual monsters. Because this chapter of the whole DC universe was called Gods and Monsters. We're going to get to see a bit more of what that side is because I know that DC is known for their main characters like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. But you got to remember what makes DC stand out is that they have an actual universe full of creatures, villains, aliens, and gods that we haven't actually seen being brought to the big screen just yet because I know Marvel has done it in their own way with we already know the X-Men are out there. We already know mutants, actual cosmic characters like the Guardians, Captain Marvel, what their worlds are like, but hopefully we could at least try to say, okay, this is the DC universe. If we're going to make an identity for ourselves whenever we want to do something weird and extraordinary, let's try to do it like this. So like that, when we see them in other movies, we could actually say, huh, I wonder where that character's from and actually look back on where they came from. And once they see them in the newer movies, it's like, okay, I'm down to see them again in a future season or in a possible team up. All right, guys, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. All my social media is down in the description below. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.